But keeping with this theme of Bill Maher and his out of touch Hollywood takes, I want to show you. This is another clip from actually his podcast I thought was pretty interesting, where he's talking to John Fogerty of Creedence. And I mean, I gotta say, there are points in this that make me so angry because Bill Maher is basically talking to Fogerty like he's like. There's one point when John Fogerty says one of his opinions, and Bill Maher picks up a guitar and goes, "Go play down on the corner," like condescendingly, like, "How dare you say something like that? Go play your song boy." And it's like, whoa, Bill Maher, like, you're a mediocre comedian at best. And I probably said this on the last one. But for you to say something like that to a legend like John Fogerty, I'm surprised he didn't get up and just slap Bill Maher. But watch this, because there are so many parallels to what's going on now. It's ridiculous. And it's relatively short.
On the wrong side.
Yeah. Well, there was a moment there when Pete came on and sang
They're talking
Big
about
Muddy,
Pete Seeger.
I'm pretty sure. And that was...
Well, they were
people taking offense to... we was talking about the Vietnam War.
Criticizing the Vietnam War when that was still controversial. And, of course, this is Sunday night.
It was controversial,
I believe,
controversial until we left. And that last helicopter got pushed off the aircraft carrier. I mean, that was it never stopped being controversial.
In the sense, you mean that there are people today who think we absolutely should have fought the war, the Vietnam War. I mean, there are still people who think that. I am more sympathetic to the...
How did we get here? Boy, it didn't take long, did it?
Why? Why? What are you saying? It always comes back to Vietnam?
No, but,
No.
There was an Iraq war. I'm sorry, I got to go here. There was a...
So this is why I clipped this. This is actually really interesting and just a sign of the times. And again, I like these parallels because we've been through this before.
War in Iraq. And I wrote a song called Deja Vu. And
yeah, I know it. I've heard it.
I was just, I was flown to New York. I was going to do it on Good Morning America. And suddenly, we're probably in the afternoon the day before, they're pushing back. So, you can't sing that song, right? Iraq, Vietnam.
I get it.
Yeah. And so...
Sleepless Nights, that song? Is that about that?
No, it's a song I wrote. It's a song I recorded about 2004.
Okay. So go back to Iraq.
By the way, John Fogerty's like in his late 70s, I'm pretty sure. He looks pretty good.
No, so you're saying...
And I was about to be on, and the show was saying, he can't come on and sing that song.
Oh, wow.
And so, I'm not going to come on and sing something else. That was the whole...
Right.
So they brought him out to Good Morning America in New York, and then they read the lyrics, and they're like, "Nah, like, you can't play this. You got to play down on the corner." For Susie Q.
So finally, they thought about it for a few hours and decided that they didn't want to. Look, I can't read people's minds,
right?
But it just seemed like if you make such a big stink, you're actually making it worse than just doing it. Of course, right?
They always do that.
And so.
Yeah.
You get up very early in the morning to go do those morning shows. And Charlie Gibson, he was not happy that I was there because he was supporting, in the fine tradition of people who think they're supporting the flag and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're all Americans, right? Not just the ones who wave the flag all the time. Yeah. So... He was very unhappy, and he made it a point to he was really trying to embarrass me with questions and making it look like I was a lazy, rock and roll privileged, overpaid, musician. And he's probably right, but
yeah.
I like that he has a sense of humor about himself, but I also like this type of conversation because it's so insane to me how the Democrats have become the neocons. They are literally running the exact same playbook with Ukraine and now Israel that they ran during the Iraq and Afghanistan era.
had a little pushback, and I think we came out even. But he was really unhappy that I was there, and since he owned the show, I mean, he was the dude. He got to say a few things that without the other side retorting. Right. At the end of the deal, though, we're all standing watching through that window or something. He comes over and kind of, I don't know. I felt okay about it. He shook my hand, and I accept that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, who was right and who was wrong? Ask yourself that question. Good question to ask. So I want to close this segment out by just showing you Bill Maher politically.
And because that's really what we're on to now is what's going to happen there. What do you see a year
So this is from Reddit, and this is them talking about the Iraq War 20 years
from now? What is Iraq going to look like in a year, in 2 years?
Well, maybe we can create a vital democracy like Kuwait or Panama or Vietnam, North Korea.
You're saying we don't have a good track record.
Actually, no, we don't.
Yeah,
Actually, no.
This is 20 years ago, and the people who were on Tim Robbins' side then now support the Ukraine war.
We do have a kind of a history of thinking we'll get to a place and we think we'll get there and go, you'll love us. You're going to love us. We're Americans. You're going to love it. You're just going to love it. But their ideas, I mean, certainly nobody living under Saddam Hussein. And by the way, I said in the show a few weeks ago that this has always been a 60-40 kind of a thing for me. These guys might be right. And as I say, now that we're doing it, I hope they are. And the 40 was that Saddam Hussein is such a huge pustule that it can't be all bad that we're getting rid of this guy.
See, this is always the logic, too. They're like, well, he's a dictator, so it's not too bad. At least we're doing the right thing. We're getting the dictator.
But no one would say, I think, that anyone lived under freedom in Iraq while Saddam Hussein was in charge. But isn't it also true that people's ideas of freedom are very different? And that we think that our idea of freedom is going to be the idea that they have of freedom, and it's not that way?
Bill Maher speaking with nuance 20 years ago. I want to take a little aside because Jennifer here was talking about Tim Robbins. Yes, Susan Sarandon. I don't know. She did a speech recently at a Gaza protest that was amazing, and I covered it on one of my streams, but I'm sure that's how they came together because Tim Robbins is the man. Honestly, I saw him speak at a Bernie event a few years ago, and he's one of the few people that came out after COVID and apologized. He's one of the few liberals who was like, yo, I was wrong. Cheers to Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon, even though they're not, I don't know if they're together anymore. I don't think they are, but they're both like really based and politically smart. One more aside, Jacob's Ladder. I loved that movie and I tried to rewatch it. I actually have it on DVD. It's not as good as it was. It was so heavy duty back in the day, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should rewatch it again. But I watched it a couple years ago again, and I was like, this just doesn't hit like it used to, Anyway.
Don't we have to give it a chance? I mean, we don't know. We have no idea what it's been like to know that if you know the demonstrations, they were saying this, just the Iraqis were saying this, the ones who were coming out saying, anytime there's a demonstration in the streets for Saddam, they come into places and they know if they don't go out, well, they're at risk. Their families are at risk. It's an astonishing level. By the way, I also want to say very quickly about...
See, I don't believe any of this shit now, but I just wanted to show you how nuanced their takes are on that right.
Tyrant. He's a thug who treats his people like this, which is absolutely true. We've known it for a long time. But there is a lot of people in the world who treat their people like that.
And we put half of them in office.
Yes, that's...
There it is. I don't know who that woman is, but she's right. Anyway, a much more nuanced debate on these issues 20 years ago. And Bill Maher has some kind of an amnesia, clearly, because he doesn't remember this stuff. So